We have with us Dr. Unnikrishnan Cheramangalathar for the invited talk on the topic Cyber Physical System. Dr. Unnikrishnan is working as an assistant professor in computer science stream at IIT Palakkad. His research interests include compilers and programming languages, high performance computing, and Internet of Things. On behalf of everyone, I welcome you, Unnikrishnan sir, to deliver the talk.
So thank you for the introduction. So, as already mentioned, my research interests are in research expertise is in compilers and programming languages, high performance computing, and I did my PhD from IISc and did 1 year postdoc at Singapore University of Technology and Design, Singapore. During that time, I had worked on this cyber physical system, and so I had exposure to that and whatever experience I have and how it will be useful to the faculty community and the student community, I will present in that. So, this is a presentation overview. So, I hope you have been listening these words for the past 2 days once the workshop started, but I'll just revise it again. And then the cyclic activity programming paradigm that you can see in typical microcontroller based code or a control system or an embedded system. Then IoT, I'll revisit with an example. Then I'll move to cyber physical system and how cyber physical system, IoT, and embedded systems are related. And then we'll go to CPS features, application of CPS architecture. Then I'll just summarize one work I had done, which is published in journal on computer security. So cyber physical security. And it uses compiler fundamentals. So it will be like 3-4 slides. Okay, let us move to the presentation now. So sensors, as you know, it could be analog or digital, and how can be used for in academia or how the experience can be done with that. Maybe I'll give a brief overview. So it will be useful for students or even the faculty. Like, if you look at, there are some sensors which are very cheap and available in the market, which can be plugged with a microcontroller like Arduino or some microprocessor, single onboard microprocessor like Raspberry Pi. So force sensor is one example, a range sensor and is another example, smoke sensor is another example, water level sensor, and many more sensors. Like we have thousands of sensors, but from the academic perspective, for the student perspective, these sensors are very cheap, what are registered. Force sensor, if you have not seen, like it's like force sensor. If you press on top of this red press too much, then the force will be detected. And the range sensor is this is smoke sensor and water level sensor. It detects smokes. This water level sensor, it can detect whether there is water present or not. Can be used in different ways to detect water in the ground, or can be detected to use rains. Based on this sensor, even smoke sensor, it can be used for a fire detection system. Range sensor is this, where it measures distance from its position. So these sensors are cheaply available in the market. These are used in academia and for even small projects. So this can be integrated with microcontrollers or simple board microprocessors. And actuators like used to control machine system. Actuator requires control signal, and they are required in embedded control system to perform an operation. Change is used to perform an action so that the state of the system changes based on the requirement. Rotatory actuator produces a rotatory motion or a torque. Then pneumatic actuator converts energy to mechanical motion. Then linear actuator produces motion in straight line. And this hydraulic cylinder, like mechanical actuator, used to give unidirectional force. So different types of sensors are there. Then computing units, sensors and actuators are there, different types. Coming to this microcontroller unit like Arduino Uno, Arduino Mega, they are like everybody knows, or academia also everybody knows. And even this wireless microcontrollers like ESP8266, VMOS D1R1. the previous lecture, Dr. Unnikrishnan sir was mentioning about TCP/IP protocol stack in this IoT system. When it compared to a traditional operating system or a traditional microprocessor solution, these are like lightweight protocol stacks or lightweight machines where they are limited in memory and limited in computing power. So many limitations are there due to this. They have protocol stacks on TCP/IP, but they are lightweight with limited functionality. They support different type of communication protocols, like and so these are the way it is designed. It's very lightweight in terms of memory, processing power, etc. And there is single board microprocessor Raspberry Pi. And the communication protocols like there is UART, MQTT. MQTT is a very famous protocol and is very relevant in industry also. Message queuing telemetry transfer protocol. Even it uses Facebook for image recognition and all use this protocol nowadays. HTTP, then COAP, Constrained Object Access Protocol. There are many communication protocols. Even if you look at this IoT and communication protocol, you can find a lot of publications or papers. So communication protocols are classified like request response, publish, subscribe. Like MQTT comes in this publish, subscribe protocol. Then RESTful, represent and state transfer protocol. And so if you look at a cyclic executor like embedded system, which is embedded or control system, it can be visible in any IoT systems at the one end. I'm telling the device and not in terms of cloud. So they will send some data, then based on the sense data, do something. This is a code which is similar to an Arduino microcontroller code. Like you have a setup where it initializes the system, it initializes the sensor, initializes the device. Then after that, there will be a cyclic loop that keeps on iterating. And whenever there's a change in state of the physical system, how it is identified is using sensors. It reads the sensor value, and if the sensor value has some change, that means state of the system has changed. Then based on that, if the state has changed with respect to some property is measured using a sensor, and the property or of a device has changed, then the device has to move it the proper state. You have to do that by managing the device, by providing some control command to actuators and make sure that the system goes back to the consistent state. It's a typical Arduino based loop which can be used for different applications, different devices. So that is cyclic executive is a paradigm I mentioned. Arduino uses it. It's not just Arduino, many embedded systems or control system uses this cyclic executing. Even if it is, there is no internet, if you look at your AC in a room, keeps on reading the outside temperature and room temperature and make sure that the temperature inside the room is constant or whatever the specified value. So, I will give an example of this control system with respect to a programmable robot. It's like a house cleaning robot, which is popular in many countries, and even few houses might have, or I don't know how many have heard about this clean robot, but it's a cleaning robot. So this is a picture like it can be operated using commands like clean. This clean command makes sure that it cleans the area. But the problem is this robot does not have any algorithm of how to track the path or to detect the obstacles. When an obstacle comes, it has its own embedded system or embedded software, which may not be adequate for a specific requirement. So that for that it has provided some programmable interface so that can connect some microcontroller or a microprocessor like Arduino Mega microcontroller or wireless if it's ESP8266 microcontroller or even Raspberry Pi microprocessor. Based on the application requirement, can be decided. But it runs on a battery, so power is a very important factor. So, and the thing is now whether it can be automated, whether this cleaning can be automated. So it is possible, and it has some programmable interface, and it can control the robot by using the command sets given for that robot. There are some opcodes. You have to send that opcodes to the robot through the programmable interface. Then robot will do those operations. So we can have a microcontroller being connected to iRobot, and you can have your own algorithm to make the robot work. Instead of the default software that is embedded in this robot, you can have your own software module. Sorry for the disturbance, I got a call. So, uh, so now how it can be programmed? So there are so many factors to consider. Like if you have a robot and it's cleaning up upstairs and you detect a staircase, then this system does not have a facility to measure that there is a staircase and the robot will fall down. Now how it can be modified that it can clean anywhere, so that many constraints, physical constraints, obstacles, so many things are there, how it can be controlled. So I'll give a simple example, like here it's a rain sensor, which detects, this can be used to measure distance, measure the distance. So now we look at how a staircase can be detected if you have to make sure that robot does not fall when you, from a height. Staircase I just mentioned, like for the fundamental being, it should not fall down. So the robot can be programmed using a microcontroller or a single mode microprocessor. Robot can be programmed to clean an area in a house, and how to ensure safety for robot during operation. Safety could be obstacle. If there's an obstacle in front, you should not go and hit the obstacle. If somebody is climbing upon the robot, it should give a warning. Like that is like if you have force sensor attached, whenever somebody climbs on that, the force sensor makes sure that somebody is pressing on it. Then some alarm can have a sensor like a device like buzzer, small peripheral like buzzer alarm, or alarm can be attached to the microcontroller. So the control loop keeps on increasing based on your constraints and requirements. So you are just considering here detection of staircase. So can it fall down from staircase while moving forward? It's possible. So how to avoid it? So attach a rain sensor to robot at a proper position, proper orientation in front of the robot at a proper distance, so that the sensor detects the increase in the distance quickly, and if height increases to X centimeter, X is relative to that room or where it is working, you have to make the velocity negative. So there's a command to which we can make the robot velocity negative, then the robot reverts back. So MCU code is read the sensor values and do action based on the sensor value. One sensor here mentioned is only range sensor. Can attach say more than 10 or 10 sensors. Like suppose you have a fire being detected in a room, the robot will immediately move out of the room. And if the robot goes out of charge, if battery is very low, then it will automatically charge. Automatically charge means there's a command in the robot so that you can move the robot towards the charging station. Now coming to the IoT case, can it be done over internet? Like suppose you are somewhere outside, like, and you are going out for 2 months and you want to clean your house. Instead of relying on a human, this robot can be used so that your house is cleaned properly in periodic intervals. That can be controlled using a IoT communication. So this software we are designing a software that can be used first internally within a home using a microcontroller. But then you connect to the outside world and make sure that we can do the purpose from somewhere outside your home, wherever you are, irrespective of where you are, can control it using some communication over internet. The small example. So now coming to the IoT architecture, the network of devices, like devices are embedded with sensors, actuators, and software control system, like one we saw in that typical cyclic executive paradigm. Then there is this wireless networks and this embedded system gateway for IoT. So gateway connects to outside world, the internet or the cloud. Wireless networks are typically required, especially when you have some moving objects. You cannot rely on Ethernet or a wired connection. So like wireless microcontrollers are the, like I already mentioned, ESP8266, BMOS D1R1. These are like academic related sensors and the microprocessor units. then once you have this IoT, you can do, once you have sending the data or sends data to the cloud or over the internet, you can do analytics on the cloud. So machine learning algorithms, real-time analytics, etc., can be used for data analytics. So there are thousands of sensors which are available to sense different properties. So I just mentioned 4 or 5 with respect to use case so that things are clear. Then applications, there are a lot of applications like smart home, elderly healthcare, and agriculture, like there is another application, energy management. So this is the IoT architecture that you might have already seen, like microcontroller or a single board microprocessor attached sensors, actuators, and devices. The number of microcontrollers can be it need not be one, it could be multiple. We have a set of these things. Then you have a gateway, and through the gateway you connect to the internet or cloud. The cloud, some computation happens. But so maybe wondering how cyber physical system is different from IoT. I'll be coming to that. But this use case like elderly healthcare, I would like to emphasize on this, like being another use case. So sensors like what I am mentioning here is motion sensor. That is used to detect motion. If somebody, there's a motion, the sensor detects a motion. I'll come to that how it is used for elderly healthcare. Then range sensor, it is used to detect distance. Then pulse sensor, heartbeat sensor. How to do elderly healthcare. So motion, monitor daily activities using sensors. Like that's a fundamental here. It has to be sent to the internet. So give timely messages to the elderly people, like can be to the mobile or can connect to any device, or can be messages or alarms. Time spent in the bed, it can be measured by a motion sensor. You put a motion sensor in the bed where the elderly person is sleeping or laying down. So how much time is spent on the bed, it can be used, it can be founded by attaching motion sensor and writing a code so that whenever there's a motion being happening for like suppose you take 10 hours or every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes there's a motion, the 10 hours the person is on the bed. That's a heuristic or assumption, so approximation can be made. Then like visits to bathroom can be detected using range sensor whenever the obstacle is coming to the bathroom door. Assume that somebody is coming, and then based on that, you can find that they are visiting the bathroom. Then heartbeat and temperature, like it can be measured using pulse sensor and temperature sensor respectively. Pulse sensor and temperature sensor respectively. This has to be done manually by the elderly patient. So some alarms or some messages should be sent to the elderly people so that they monitor it. So this is very useful when you have somebody aged in the home and you are away from home. Their daily activities can be monitored and make sure that they are doing good. And sometimes even for a hospital, if somebody is not able to go, some sensors can be attached and they can be sent to the hospital so that their aged people need not travel, but the data is sent to the hospital without booking any appointment. Like nowadays, you are not going to bank relying on your ATM or internet banking. Only patients also need not go to hospital if they are not physically fit, but the care can be done with the help of sensors. So communications in microcontrollers, gateway, and to the internet. So and do analytics like whatever data you collect periodically that can be analyzed. So nowadays the computing power is very high. Like we are going for a exascale computing, that is 10 raised to 18 floating point operation per second, that is exascale computing. The next era is going towards that. So the analytics will be very fast and the storage space is not a constraint. You look at 20 years back, may have seen like hard disks which are size like 4 GB or 8 GB. Now getting a 8 GB thumb drive itself is very tough and the storage is like not at all a constraint. So analytics and big data, they are already also affected IoT system. So these sites like Thinga.io, Thingspeak.co, these sites can be used for any academic projects or for a student purpose so that students also learn. Like whatever I mentioned here, if you buy sensors which are relevant for a particular project, there are so many projects available. buying those sensors and making sure that students also learn these IoTs. So there are huge job demand for IoT, like there are job demand for IoTs and smart systems. Like I will come to that, how the smart systems are going with respect to. Then it goes for industrial IoT or cyber physical system. Job openings are there, especially the countries that are developed in terms of technology are already using it. Like whatever I have seen in Singapore is like that. So cyber physical system, it requires interdisciplinary approach. So nowadays, even all the research or all the activities are interdisciplinary. Like you take a robot, there is software, there is it's like mechatronics is one term I would like to mention here. Like everything is interdisciplinary. So the application areas are like aerospace, automotive industry. That is part of industry standard 4.0 that where we are going. Like I mentioned, exascale computing. Similarly, industry 4.0 look for automotive industry. Transportation, another area where it requires there's a lot of applications. Entertainment, healthcare. Healthcare, when it comes to cyber physical system or related to IoT, there's a big difference. I'll come to that. And it's different from an embedded system, like consider physical elements and cyber elements. Cyber means it's connected to the internet or the cloud. So embedded system can be a component of CPS. So a cyber physical system can consist of multiple embedded devices with embedded systems in it, embedded or control systems in it. So cyber physical system and IoT, there are a lot of similarities. Like it has sensors, actuators, computation units, communication, then gateways, cloud. They are similar in both CPS and IoT. But there's a big difference because cyber physical systems and IoT, there's a difference. Is like IoT is more towards sensor focus. Maybe the amount of analytics or the complexity of that system is very less. But if you need to come to cyber physical system, like smart systems that are co-engineered, interacting network of physical and computational components. And CPX makes quality of service and life better. Like CPX is a major driving force, repetition here, driving force for industry 4.0. So CPS has a cyber and physical world and interaction among them. Smart systems offering smart services. So CPS contain embedded systems and physical systems. Physical could be houses, building, factory, automatics. Like when you come to IoT, maybe factory and automatives may not be that houses or they're all limited. So how to make electricity meter readings more smarter? Like nowadays, if you look at many states of or even many parts of India, it may not be like electronic reading, but you can see that many developed countries, nobody nobody relies on any manual electric. In many countries, does not rely on manual electricity reading. Like there are smart meters, and also there is no bill coming to houses in person. You get emails or SMS alerts, and then you pay automatically. So there's like no human involved in this electricity bill pay. Like you have internet banking, or you have to connect. To get an electricity connection, you have to connect to a bank account or some payment portal like Paytm or anything, and then you have to have provide mobile number or any email. Then everything is then automatic. So you are not relying on any human for paying the electricity bill. Nowadays, sometimes in many places, it may be the case that the bill comes as a paper to your house, then you pay by whatever facility you have. You can go to the office, electricity board office and pay, or you can pay via internet. But the smartness that varies with the states or the area, like how can be incorporated. So even when you have this meters connected to internet, the another thing is analytics. Like if in smart countries, you can, as a consumer, you can even monitor how much unit of energy spent per day, like how much energy is spent per day. If you see that someday there's a big high, as a consumer, you will be also identify why that happened on that day, and then you can rearrange your system and even rearrange or find your mistakes and make sure that such thing does not happen. It may be the case that one day you might have forgot to switch off the iron box or switch off say heater, water heater. So such mistakes can be easily found out when you have this smart reader, where you have a consumer also have a user ID, they can monitor daily usage. This is a place where like it goes typically different from an IoT, which is more towards sensor oriented, goes towards a cyber physical system where it's more smartness, more convenience, and you don't have to rely on anybody. Everything is done automatically through some smart devices, which include sensors and actuators, and also some smart software where even analytics is done at the cloud and it is reported back to the user. So I mentioned Industry 4.0, like it's automation of industry, like machine-to-machine protocols are used. Smart factory means again the human interaction required for a factory to function is like almost zero or is reduced to zero, no intervention or minimal intervention. So building of the physical and digital world, bridging the physical and digital world through cyber physical system with the help of industrial IoT. IIoT stands for industrial IoT. So in industrial IoT, use of IoT in transportation, energy utilization, utilities, aviation, and other industry sectors. IoT opens more chances for automation. So automation is what the next level industry is looking for. Demand-based service. Demand-based service means unless it is very required, we don't have to provide the service. Like we look at even the current computers, there is a term called dynamic voltage scale. The processor does not always run on the clock speed; it varies the speed based on the frequency, based on the workload. What the advantage is there is energy saving. So demand-based service also helps in reducing the energy consumption and so many smart way of doing things and performance management. This transportation, I mentioned this already government of India has started projects even on smart cities. This can be found in this URL. So the details like a lot of projects, even I think more than 1,000 crore rupees, I forgot exact money that government is investing. A lot of money is going to be invested in this. And similarly, smart homes is like another thing which will be coming to India also to a reality. Like nowadays, we can see in many houses there is this webcams posted and webcam attached to the houses, and the owners may be somewhere outside Gulf or US, and they monitor what is happening near the house using this webcam, or inside the house also using webcam, so that nobody is stealing anything. These are realities even now in India. Like even, there are many places where many houses where this happen. So there's a demand for such application services. So, so cyber physical system again it's related to similarity with IoT is already there, but it's more data analysis, more smart services. So physical world it sends some data to the cloud through sensors. The cyber world gets the data. Then based on the data, the collected, there will be a decision made from the cyber world or the internet. And the decision is propagated back to the physical world, and the physical world performs some action through actuators and change the state of the physical system if it is required. So this has good applications. Even say, for example, I mentioned agriculture. How it can be used. Suppose you want to put say a simple naive example, like suppose you have an agriculture system where you need to water the plants. Then suppose the weather prediction can be used in that. Then if it says that today it is going to rain, then no need to give the water. Such a communication given to this physical world is, then no need to waste the water or waste the energy, electrical energy used to control or water the entire plant. So it's smart decision based on weather predictions, and then the prediction becomes wrong, then another decision comes like, please proceed with the activity just not told not to do. So such intellectual decision based on not just based on the water data is in the physical sensor, but also related to the other domains can be collected, like weather forecasting and all that, and then decisions can be made. So CPS versus embedded system. So what is devices? Embedded system is devices with processing system, typically configured for one device. It has limited resources of task execution. As I mentioned, this single board microcontroller, they are very limited in memory. It will be like in kilobytes of memory. It will be like 512 KB, 1024 KB. That's only the memory that is available in a microcontroller. So microprocessor like Raspberry Pi, it is like more high-ended. But if you want to save power, power is also important constraint when it comes to IoT. Because if you want to save power, you have to rely on microcontroller. If you want to provide better reliability and all, you have to go for high-end microprocessor like Raspberry Pi. But the power consumption is more. But more security, more features can be incorporated. So main concerns are real-time response and reliability. But in cyber system, network system of embedded systems, resource is not a constraint because you are sending data to cloud. The processing can be done on the cloud. Storage is not a constraint. You can store on cloud. But internet and main concerns are concurrency and timing. So then CPS, reactive computation, like interact with the environment continuously. Sequence of observe input and output, like when you send some data, you should decide what to be done. Concurrency, like multiple processes running at the same time. Processes communicate with each other. Synchronize the communication or the concurrency. The concurrency can be synchronous or asynchronous execution. And feedback control system will be the contains a control system with a feedback loop. Sensors interact with physical world. And these are like actuators influence or modify state of the physical world that I already explained. So this real-time computation, like time-sensitive operations are there. Like so, CPS based on the what domain it is, it will be very important. Like the operation is time-sensitive. The deadline for a task is some disastrous effect can happen, then it's like time is very important. Resource allocation, how to do. Then safety critical application like precise modeling, validate the system, then develop the system. If it is very safety critical application, you have to first model the system, then you have to validate the system. When you validate the system, then you have to make sure that the system works correctly. The fundamentals of compilers and programming languages are very important. Like so, just writing a code, developing a system in a program should be formally verified that the system is correct. Then only you integrate to the actual system. Because the precision is very important in some cases, accuracy is very important. Like healthcare is an example. Like there is a concept called there is already like robotic surgery. So surgery is done by robots, so that the accuracy is guaranteed, or it could be even image-driven surgery. So like application of CPS in healthcare, like highly accurate medical devices and systems. So image-guided surgery or robotic surgery. Control of fluid flow for medicinal purposes, like where you need high accuracy. So if humans are involved, if the accuracy is not guaranteed, but it can be guaranteed through software systems, then it is very useful. And intelligent operation theater in hospitals. What do you mean intelligent operation theater is like even there's a concept called predictive maintenance where based on the operations or the performed by a device, and if the device operations are sent to the cloud, cloud can analyze the operations, how it is done, and predict that the device is going to fail within few months or few days. Then the hospital can make sure that a alternative device is there and they can expect that it may fail. Of course, the prediction may be accurate by some percentage. The guarantee may be like probability that the device, a very critical device may fail maybe 0.8. So the prediction can be done using data analytics on cloud. So I would say based on what our operation and what are the values are read by the device and it is sent to the cloud, cloud do the analytics and predict that something will happen. Then hospital management man make sure that alternative arrangements are made. Human service robots is also a medical service related thing, like when there is a elderly people in the house, a robot can service a human. They can even give voice commands, make sure that medicine is given to the human who is even maybe lying down on the bed. They are making sure that all the activities of a elderly person is taken care by the human service robot once it is programmed. So it's like not like the IoT based thing where sensors do those things. It's even more uh, uh, costly device, more accurate device, and more functionalities of it. More computing power is also involved in this human service robot. An example is Toyota human service robot. There are good videos on Toyota human service robots, and it can be controlled from remote also, like using software. And so these are the way like applications of CPS comes in healthcare. Engineered system based on configuration, engineering system based on cognition and neuroscience. So like brain machine interface, entertainment robot, here are examples in healthcare. So tracking public, so CPS applications like other include public transport like trains. Like if you look at IRCT, it's common to India, can track where a train is currently, like which is the station from which train has left in the past. Last station at which train is reported, what was the time, and at what time the train will reach at the next station or your destination, your station. That is now available through IRCTC, and it is accurate to a certain level. But if you look at some developed countries, like the even metro trains are running without a driver, like it's all autonomous, and so such metro trains are possible without even a human being operator. All are connected to some intellectual embedded system with sensors and actuators and some cloud-based computation, so that everything is tracked properly. So electronic toll for vehicles. So if you look at India, there is this what you say, electronic tolling is possible. So, but if you look at developed countries, like for example, in Singapore is first country where they introduced electronic tolling, where there is no toll booths, but even there are cameras attached in the road, and that cameras, the vehicles need to have a fast tag, as you see in the current vehicles in India also. But that fast tag is captured by the camera, even the vehicle is traveling at a speed of say 200 kilometers per. This touches for such a speed, 200 kilometers per hour speed. Even then, the camera will capture the vehicle's fast tag and detect the toll automatically from the. So, so I just look at question. Cyber system model rhymes with control system based on the model. Am I right or wrong? I'm showing this correlation. Cyber physical system, they have, like as I mentioned, cyber physical system, and looking at the chat box, like cyber and physical. Like cyber means it is connected to the internet. Physical means the physical world. So physical world and the cyber world is connected together. That is cyber physical system. So cyber why needed is it has huge data storage, huge processing power. But when you come to embedded system, they are limited in processing power, limited in memory. They have its own limitation. So once you send whatever you observe or you sense, or the embedded system sense, can be sent to the cloud, stored in there permanently. Then that data can be analyzed and presented in a proper way. That I mentioned with respect to this electricity reading for a in a electricity, like where which even the consumer can read how much read in a day, how many units of energy is spent, and like it's not like monthly based thing. And so in that case, even consumer can handle where on what day what happened, and even some analytics can be done on the cloud from the cloud side from the electricity board, or so that they can measure what is happening. And also one more thing is such analytics what it says is like demand based service, like in transportation system, whether we should run equal number of vehicles on a holiday, public holiday, on a working day, on a Saturday, on a Sunday. How it can be analyzed? Of course, if you have such a system where things can be tracked automatically, then and it can be analyzed using algorithms. We have computers. You don't have to do with pen and paper. Then you will get good predictions, and it can be refined over a period of time. Like I mentioned, weather forecasting. Now weather forecasting is very accurate because it has evolved over a time. Similarly, this metro city transportation, metro city things, how it can be optimized so that you don't overrun, like run too many vehicles with less number of people. You save the energy, and even something like some places where even what a human cannot do perfectly can be done by a software system, which includes maybe even include robots. In such a case, this entire system is the even the cyber world is all involved. Embedded system has its own limitations with respect to data storage and performance. So that's why cyber world is involved. So whatever transactions you do, even for internet banking, if you are using that, you remember everything. Like nowadays, nobody uses passbook. So you have a ATM card, and then nobody goes to bank. When elderly healthcare, I mentioned, well, you don't even have to. A person may not even go to hospital frequently. When that may be useful, especially when you have current scenario like COVID. COVID means how you can do this healthcare without going to hospital. That's the question. Such a system can be developed maybe for the future if such system in such a scenario will be useful. So based on the requirement, even like online education, it has online education may not be that perfect, but online teaching is very good. Like online education has its own limitations and merits. Like we can attend courses in Coursera, which may not be posted and credit a certificate, take certificate. So there are different applications. So with respect to CPS, there are similarities with IoT, like sensors, actuators, and gateways, cloud. But CPS is more smart. IoT may be more towards sensor oriented. Like there is no formal definition for like exact definition. Like it's not like a mathematical component where you can define what is a particular property. Like what is a graph, you can define formally. What is a natural number, you can define properly. But here all are interrelated, and even research is now interdisciplinary, like mechatronics, where electrical, mechanical, and computer science is combined together. So electronic code for vehicle, I already mentioned, like these fast tags are there, but smart cities, even there is no car can even travel, that camera will capture the fast tag, even when the vehicle is moving at a speed of say 100 km per hour or 200 km per hour. Tolling is done automatically. There is no need to stop. But some countries where you have to stop explicitly and that fast tag need to be scanned. So because we cannot go beyond a certain speed in some countries. So metro trains can be metro cities buses. So buses without conductor is possible. Yes, it's possible and it's happening in like the developed countries. I don't know about all metro cities in India. But how it is happening is you can have a card, paid card, to be like and you can tap when you enter. When you go out, you have to tap. And metro train without driver, it's possible. It's happening. Already a reality in developed countries. Smart grids already covered in the previous lecture, I guess. Then facial measurement unit is application. So this example ubiquitous transport system where you have public transport. It's not like a public transport which is very without any smart things. It could be a train or bus. It has a 4G connection, and WiMAX, and the GPS system, sensors, and a payment system. So whenever you enter, you have to. There will not be any. Say driver just opens the door, then you have to tap the card. If each passenger should have a card, there will be webcam involved. If you don't tap the card, it will be captured by the whatever activity do a passenger do in a bus. It is captured using a webcam. Then you tap when you enter, and when you that is like your boarding point is captured. Is went to the is captured either locally on the bus, can be captured locally on the bus. Then when that particular passenger gets down, he has to tap again. So the destination point is now computed. Starting point is already stored. Then once the starting point and destination point is found out, is sent to the cloud like SPT station. Then based on that, the card gets deducted with the money. Then this, but it's not just about deducting money. It will also get a count of how many passengers are there in the vehicle at a time. And can you do analytics based on this? As I mentioned, if a bus, same bus runs on Sunday and on working day, if you find that the passengers on a working day is very high, but in Sunday there was rarely 2-3 people, then reduce the number of buses running that route, so that you are not reducing, not wasting energy in terms of whether it's electrical energy, whether it's fuel, whatever can be reduced. Reduce the number of buses in that route. Like instead of 10 buses per 10 buses per hour or 10 buses per 2 hours, make it 2 buses per. Instead of 10 buses, make it 2 buses, or make it optimal scheduling. After a few iterations, you find that what is optimal value. That analytics happen in the cloud because such a facility may not be there in the public transport system. This data need to be sent to the cloud. So at the receiving side, you have a user, you have mobile phone user, or where you have an app and he searches like in a given bus stop, you want to travel to a destination, like say from bus stop A to bus stop B. You look at bus stop A and what are the buses you are coming there. And even the app will show the different routes through which the passenger can move from location A to location B. There may be a direct route, which may be the best in some cases, it may not be best in some cases. There may be a route where you have to get down and get in, get down and get down. Now, you have used 2 buses, which may be a shortest at a given point of time. So based on dynamic scenario, like morning 10 a.m. maybe if you look, it may be the case that the route with only 1 bus is giving. Using that route, we can reach the destination early, but maybe at 12 noon it may be different. So that facility is there, and also this card reading. It makes sure that once you get down on the bus, that register is recorded, and then within 5 minutes, if you board another bus, it will not be counted as a Any question? Somebody raise a hand. So what I want to say is, if the passenger is traveling from to a destination using multiple buses, the ubiquitous transport system considers it as a single journey. So the cost of traveling is almost same as traveling using a single bus. Person travels from A, then drops at a point A1, then boards another bus, takes a point A2, drops get down at A2, then finally reach B. All will be continued as a single journey by smart system, because the card tracking or the tapping of card makes sure that you are doing journey without much delay. But if you are traveling from A to A1, then after 1 hour you again board, that will be considered as a new journey. So smart systems are there where system is even more smart for the user, where which they are deducted less money if it is a continuous journey, but you are using
Hello, sir.
3 buses with, yeah.
The slides are not visible.
This is not.
Just now it went off and.
Now it's visible?
No,
Is
sir.
it visible now?
No.
Is it visible?
No, sir, it's not yet visible.
Now it's coming. Yes.
I don't know what happened, but sorry for this mistake, or I don't know from where mistake happened. So this is like this was visible early in this slide. This first time the participants are seeing, or it was visible before?
Yes,
Yes, sir, it was visible before.
Okay, yeah. So based on this, like smart algorithm, so that customers are also more happy, and also the system is also smart as possible. There is customer is happy, and also the energy saving many aspects of this. In such a system where there is a lot of analytics and high-end sensors, like the CPS system, where can have ubiquitous transport system. And then industry CPS and has a 5 layer architecture, 5C. All components in the architecture start with the letter C. So it's so industry sees this manufacturing system like smart control, optimal resource utilization, smart diagnostic and maintenance, predictive maintenance, flexibility of development of systems, and product customized specific to needs of customers. These are like requirement of industry. These are requirement of industry CPS. And CPS based manufacturing system like it's just a 5C layer architecture, connection, conversion, cyber, cognition, configuration. What is use of connection? Connection ensure that accurate data is obtained. And what about conversion means? Conversion of machine data to a meaningful information. Machine data to be converted to a meaningful information. Like as I mentioned, the meter reading from a smart meter can be converted to need to be converted to meaningful information. Like daily usage, hourly usage, monthly usage. There are so many ways. Even data may be relevant for a different domain. Data analytics tool and methodologies is required for monitoring of machine components, predictive maintenance, multi-dimensional data correlation, and predictive maintenance. The word means like you have to predict and what will happen, and you have to maintain like system should be adjusted based on what is observed. More smart machines. Machines should be self-aware, like more smart machines, self-aware. So cyber means Central Information Hub. So this in the previous slide I mentioned SPT. That stands for Spanning Tree Protocol. So like there's a central hub, like a central node, and then gather system information from fleet of machines. So lot of machines connected to this CPS, and they connect information from all the machines. Then predicting future behavior of machine. That's also part of this cyber related thing. So this thing can be done only on the through cyber world, because there is huge computing facility available in the cloud. There is no no limitations on storage. So it cannot be done on the edge or even on the device. And as cognition, like proper presentation of information to users, generating good knowledge of the system. So proper presentation of information, like as I mentioned, so just giving say monthly activity, if you produce daily activity, it becomes useful. And it's a smart system, like smart transportation system. If you have a mobile app, it shows that a bus will come in 7 minutes in this bus stop, like or these buses will come, that bus stop within this much time. Such an app is available in smart countries like what I would like to mention is that in smart countries, maybe Singapore, nobody talks to ask anybody about when the bus will come. Because only there's a mobile app, you can install it. You can find out how and when, what are the buses available coming on a bus stop. And you should have a smart car, so no need to talk to everybody on this matter of transportation. Once you reach the country, just install the app, then everything is done. Similarly for metro system. So such systems are realistic in some places, but maybe metro trains itself, possibly it's realistic even in India. But when it comes to transportation, there are limitations in India based on the road and the amount of traffic and the road congestion. There are like the traffic, the amount of traffic that happens in certain places may be high, like cities. There are limitations, but some places also this collaborative diagnostics, like instead of predicting one just based on one observation, you do a analysis on all the data, then do diagnosis. Decision making for prioritization, like prioritizing tasks. Decision making for optimization of processes and even resources. Configuration, self-configuration for resilience, self-adjustment, self-optimization for disturbances. Machine becomes self-adaptive. Like machine should adapt by themselves. Some controlling logic should be, or some intelligence software should be there even in the machine itself, so that it self-adapts. Adapts in the sense For example, it's a robot, if it detects obstacle, instead of relying on any additional sensors, can find that there's an obstacle, it does not go and hit the obstacle. Same applies with car. Whenever there's a car and running on the road and it finds a device very close to it, currently there is a detection system for this obstacles obstacles even when vehicles are running on the road. Even sensors are there on, say, device vehicles, like when you take a reverse gear, you find that some obstacle is there, you can attach even camera sensors. Then gearless car, like gearless vehicles are now becoming active. So it has its an advantage and disadvantage, but it's, one thing is gearless driving is more comfortable maybe. But as each system gives on more smart systems, which are even very easy to use, it can provide more optimized usage of resources and more customer satisfaction. All are possible in different layers, in different domains. Healthcare, transportation, industry, all are available. So important constraints of ABS are safety, accuracy, energy, timing constraints, availability, security. These are different constraints. So which is more important for a system depends upon that particular domain. For example, if it is robotic surgery, energy may not be that important. Accuracy may be important. But if it's a real-time system where there is a huge timing constraint, then like mission critical tasks, where if you miss a deadline, like you may be knowing about real-time system, like suppose you are running a flight and some control system should be accurate when launching a satellite, then such cases timing constraints is very important. Maybe energy is not important. But in some places, energy is very important because of the system. And security is important in many places. So it's a different area. It's a totally area. Cyber security can be applied in many ways. Like this police thief game, like it will happen for entire life. So security is like already proved that it's unsolvable problem, but more heuristic, better heuristics, better algorithms will come on these aspects. And also the availability, like system should be available all the time. That's another important feature of CPS. Like that also depends on the domain. Like if it's an internet banking system, if it is down for some time, it may be okay. But there are maybe other critical systems where the availability is very important. So I'll give you an example about that. Why availability is important. Like suppose there's a smart system where the entire smart smart home or smart apartment or smart flat where the water tanks are built automatically. Suppose the actuator or the motor is switched on, the water is getting filled in the tanks. Then in between the system goes down means the motor will keep on running and then water overflow will occur. So such places availability is important. One example like that. Like if you're relying on some obstacle detection software when you're driving, their availability, their working is very important. So availability is important in different domains. So any questions related to these things you can ask. Right? Maybe the presentations was like initially just more related how this IoT system can be used in academics, using some academic sensors like available in the market, using some microcontrollers or some single board microprocessors. Like I mentioned about websites, Thinga.io, ThinkSpeak. These are can be used even by students. But I would like to mention that whatever sensors I mentioned is not that is used in a commercial way, commercial system. Like smoke sensors, like in commercials, are very costly. And many sensors are very costly and very reliable and very accurate. The academic sensors or academic may not be the same, but the software part is almost the same. Like the software logic or the control logic or the embedded system software logic is same. Students get the logic of how to program. When you go to industry, they get more reliable sensors, more reliable actuators, or more accurate devices, so that they can program very well, work in these domains. Any questions related to this? I would like to go to the.
There are a few questions in the chat box. Shall I read it out?
No, I will look at the chat box.
Okay, sir.
So, so this I already covered this question. I got what are the perception threats to CPS? Okay, we'll go up. In healthcare sector nowadays, you have application for a brain-computer interface. See, what are the challenges to implement it in terms of security? So security is like, by domain, like security is a big constraint for even all systems. Even if it is banking, you are not supposed to share password. Here also, security aspects. As far as you are sending data to the cloud, there should be secure encryption, decryption algorithms. Like what is the security that you guarantee? And so you cannot just take a brain. If I cannot answer with respect to just one example, brain-computer interfacing, but whatever communication happens to the outside world is going through the public channel, and there should be a proper encryption algorithm, and even security, as I already mentioned, it's not a solved problem. It's almost one like it cannot be guaranteed in full. So there are good security algorithms, but that is depending on the domain. So maybe there are security challenges. So I'm not an expert in security aspects of cyber physical system or even cyber security. Cyber security is a research area where you will find a lot of papers. Like I hope you might have heard about blockchains. Like I'm not a good person to answer this question, but like explain on blockchains and even other new advancements. But security is a big concern. Like you can find a lot of papers on security. I can suggest some good conference like say CCS. CCS is a top tier conference in security. There are already journals. The security related work happens. So threats to CPS making sure that the system is available, energy efficient, making sure that no security threat happens. It's not just about implementing. You have to make sure that system works correctly. Security, like security from data breaches, is very important. For example, suppose your medical data is sent to the cloud and it is stored in the cloud. Somebody can attack the cloud and get the data about a person's health details and misuse it, and even like attacks like man in the middle, and such things are possible. So security is a big concern, and cyber systems are working even to say whether this autonomous vehicles, how a cyber attack can happen on those systems. Even portals, how it can happen. These are very important concerns, but it has been addressed thoroughly. But as and when new attacks comes, for example, if you look at computer hardware, how many have you heard about the Spectra and Meltdown attack with respect to the speculative execution in hardware? For example, whenever you speculative execution, you speculate that this will happen. Why you do that is it's for performance. Whenever you speculate something, even in real life, you may be wrong. So such due to the speculative execution and cache different levels of memory hierarchy, and all there is issues. So even the hardware, even the microprocessor nowadays are redesigned to avoid Spectra attacks. But what I would like to say is, whenever a threat is detected, the system automatically, the industry looks automatically maintain the system by adapting to that vulnerability. So vulnerability will keep on coming up. It's not just cyber attacks, even it could be even other software bugs. That's what I would like to cover in the. I will be covering the next 4 slides. Need not be even cyber attacks. Even software can have bugs. Sensors should be reliable. Sensors I already mentioned. The sensors that is used in academic purpose is not at all cannot be used for. I can assertively say cannot be used for industry. They have to be highly reliable, energy efficient, highly accurate. So they are very different. So designing a sensor itself is a very big task. In the context of industry 4.0, when real world, so trying to come to more question, what algorithm can help to select the input trace for the falsification of in the context of Industry 4.0, when real world system are built on CPS, concept will not be the current state in the art of the hardware limit, current state of the hardware limit the model. No, the Industry 4.0 is like a vision, like I already mentioned. That's where we are going. Even maybe I may be wrong here. I can just give an example. Like nowadays, this online education, and maybe things which faculty development. So I'm mentioning that's with education. It's physically feasible to have computer labs theoretically, or like you can have computer labs, but maybe some mechanical engineering labs may not be possible. But I mentioned the robotic example. But if these machines are equipped with some programmable interface, and a software can be written to control the mechanical equipment which are available in the lab. It could be some lathe system or anything. Then the system goes like the programmer the program is written to control the lathe, not about entire internal designs of the lathe. You study that lathe, but if you want to operate, you can have a software system through some peripheral interface and make the lathe work. Sometimes it may be the case that instead of manual intervention of a device, this code which is written and it controls that device through some interface and sensors is more accurate than a human-based approach. I mentioned about gearless vehicles, but gearless vehicles, it may have less mileage, but it has good advantage in terms of ease of usages. But internally, what is happening, we are not bothered. Similarly, to look at many industries, one is going for automation. Hardware need to be changed. Like hardware need to be incorporated with some additional features. So then only automation will be possible. Once the hardware is designed, the software module should be written so that it is captured properly. But software also should be reliable, not just the hardware. The software should be perfect in terms of code, in terms of every aspect. For example, if you have done Java programming, there are some runtime errors happening. When the code looks okay, even software testing, software validation, all happens. Some runtime errors are not caught. So in that case, I mentioned this compiler-based techniques is very useful. That is called certified compilation, where you make sure that software is guaranteed that a particular kind of bug will not happen in the system. A compiler guarantees that a particular kind of bug will not happen in the system. It could be buffer overflow, like array index of the bug that I have seen in Java codes. Such system can guarantee that such error will not happen. It's possible with certified compilation, and such a programming methodology may be useful for cyber physical system to reduce many types of errors, whether like it's runtime errors, whether you can certify that cyber attacks will not happen. At present, it may not be impossible. So, but some runtime errors is possible. So maybe I go to the one small work which I had done when I was doing the postdoctoral in Singapore. Now it's like 4 slides, and then maybe after that I can come to question. Can I go to this work now? One publication, like it's about importance of availability. So availability in a cyber physical system. It's about so why availability means if the system goes down, some drastic change, this effect can happen. I mentioned with respect to filling a water tank, and the actuator which turns on the motor, water keeps on pumping into the water tank, but in between the system, the cyber physical system goes down and the availability is not ensured, then it's a big mistake. Of course, it is required that the power should be there all the time. Even just not the power, some software bugs, some memory safety attacks, or some memory safety bugs, like it could be array index out of bound error. So in most of the current scenario, what the system does is when this bug happens, the control system or the embedded software just restarts.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Are you sharing your screen now?
My screen. Yeah, just 1 minute. It's off. I was not aware. Sorry, I'll share the screen. Just 1 minute. Yeah, I'm sharing the screen. Sorry. It's about mitigating memory safety issues. So, how to overcome memory safety issues? Memory safety, it could be array index out of bound, could be invariant pointer access. Pointer object is not if the C program, there could be a pointer variable which is not allocated by the program, or by mistake it is not allocated. It's a software bug, but the bug in the software could lead to some drastic mistakes without proper testing and proper validation, or even after proper testing and proper validation, some bugs are still there in the system. It pops up at random time and then something can happen. So I mentioned is like array index out of bound or some memory related bugs. So such as if it's a cyber physical system or even a small system, it could be like typically the restarting of the system happens. But restarting the entire system not accepted for CPS with strict timing constraint. I'm explaining with respect to a small example, like a water tank being pumped in. Suppose the water is almost full. At that time, the system goes down and it restarts. Then water overflow will happen. Similarly, sometimes there will be a sensor attached in the water tank, which if it is underflow, automatically the pumping happens, and if full, the actuator is stopped. So a small system will read the water level sensor, and if the water level is too low, pump water into the tank. It's not a, and if the water goes to a reasonable level or the required level, it is sensed and the pumping is stopped or the motor is stopped. It's done automatically, no human intervention. Pumping is not just one tank; it's like a big area, big industrial area. You can assume like it's even for a plant or a agricultural land where we are pumping water into a tank. You can assume like that. It's not like a home-based tank or a solution for a small home. It will be like a high industrial area where it is done automatically. And sometimes there may be a cloud intervention for this where you use intelligence like weather predictions and some other data to control the system. So this works like removes invalid memory access which cause runtime errors. There's a tool called address sanitizer. It's an instrumentation tool, and it instruments a program binary or program intermediate code. So maybe in the rush of time, maybe I can skip this. I don't know how many will be able to understand this. For example, in a CPL system, like there is a programmable logic controller PLC. There are sensors, there are actuators, there's a physical plant. It's also a cyber well involved. So based on the measurement, some control command happens. Then the actuator will trigger the control. Then the state of the physical plant will change. If you assume this physical plant as say water tank or a grid with the water tanks. So in the case, control will be like to pump water into the water tank. It could be like stop pumping. Two commands you can assume. And state of the system changes. The sensors also update the system. Measure the states. Measurement of the system is done by sensor that is sent to programmable logic controller. But CPS may not be just based on the system. It could be it is connected to the cloud. It will measure the previous observations. Like I mentioned about predictive maintenance. Like if the system is going restarting too many times, it should be communicated to the cloud, and they note that system is having some issue, then it should be reported. Because many times there is no human coming and looking at the system. But being a smart system, it requires the human to be alerted through some emails or messages saying that this physical plant keeps on restarting many times. How the communication happens is the physical plant to the cyber world finds it and sent to the one of the administrator mentioning that this is happening. Even in Kerala, like electricity boards, there is this smart system being applied where there are some sensors attached in some places. Whenever this electricity goes, that sensor sends a data to some of the software module, and the AE or the assistant engineer in the KSCB for that particular region gets a SMS saying that power in this region is gone. Then the AE has to do manually, like calling the sub-engineers who are working in the field and make sure that electricity is restored back. that makes sure that the system is very smart, very accurate, or is restored to the original state in a quick fashion. What I'm mentioning is sensor sending a data to the cloud sending a data to the engineer. So sensor, whenever there is a electricity being lost, sense that there is darkness. Sensor may there is no light or darkness. Some sensing happens. Based on the sensing, send to the cloud. Cloud sends looks where the area is. There may be a GPS system. It's measured in this location. Current is gone. That should be interpreted. Then based on the location, from the cyber world, a command goes to the corresponding AE's mobile saying that current gone in this location. In that case, the AE then makes sure that current is restored back. That is done through human intervention, but the human interaction. But the important point is that it is notified quickly that current is gone. That message is reached without any human interaction to the AE in the electricity. Similarly here, a physical plant, whenever the system is going to restart it should be communicated through the cyber world. So here, this is a cyber vehicle system. So what happens in this work is it modifies the compiler intermediate code. So a compiler has an intermediate code, it instruments the code, and for each memory access, it computes like whether the assign checks whether it's a legal instruction. It's a legal instruction. It's execute. Otherwise, execute I. What it means instead of what this is like a instrumented code from assign, like address sanitizer. It checks whether the access is valid. If it is not a valid access, system aborts. And abort means this actually this arrow should not be there. Abort to continue should not be there. That arrow should be missing. If it is a valid access, it do the access continue. But to overcome this, what is done is instead of executing that instruction is skipped. So the control is like this. It's an invalid access, just skip the instruction. For this particular applicant domain, it's okay to skip the invalid access as far as the system is not performing any bad operation. Or of course, there is sensors which can sense anything bad is happening. Such a modification of the code, whenever there's an invalid access, which goes to a runtime error, is removed. Runtime error is removed by instrumenting and making the invalid access does not happen. Then the system is available for the entire life cycle. It does not abort due to invalid memory access. That makes sure that system is available. This makes sure that that system or the plant works correctly, even runtime error happens. Of course, when this memory instruction is skipped, the physical state may be changing, but it comes to a same constant state after a few iterations or few minutes. But plant is still available. Plant is still available all the time. So here, as in the question box or the chat box, some question mentioned, the availability of current is very important. Like power should be there always. That's one of the constraints. Like even if I say in a jokey way, I am sitting in a hall, is having a lot of other things which is required for this computer to work. Like power is one of them. Like there is no power, I will not be able to interact with it. So availability of power, availability of internet, this availability is very important. Security is very important, and sensor should be accurate. The control software that you write should be free from bug to maximum extent. But whenever a bug is happening or whatever data that you are sensing, it should be sent to the cloud. Cloud should analyze whether there is any bug or system is working correctly. So these are very challenging things. But there are realities already available, like metro trains running without a driver and buses being very smart. So this smart system and analytics make sure that energy is used very less, and system is especially many systems become more efficient than a system which is controlled by humans, because controlling the like predicting how much is a demand-based controlling of a system. And these things are there in the cyber system. So it's not just based on just limited to sensors, actuators, and devices and gateways and clouds. There are a huge network of devices and huge computation required. Like could be from robotic surgery to smart transportation. So many smart systems. That's a challenge that's the way the industry 4.0 is defined. It's the way the future will go, and the impact will be visible even in India. Like government of India already started the smart cities projects, thousands of crores of funding. I think such things will come here also, and also the smart reading, electricity reading. Things are feasible even. I don't know. I'm not sure that it's already there in different parts of India. So these smart systems will come, and it will come to reality. There will be a lot of demand. So for faculty, like small project based on this small academic sensors can be given so that students are also aware of these fundamentals or remove the fundamentals properly. So a lot of journals are there. Like if it is IoT, like there is ACM transactions of Internet of Things, and there are different transactions which has come recently due to this demand for IoT and cyber physical systems. There are a lot of new journals which has come in the recent past. Recent means maybe around 5 years time, new good journals have come. There are a lot of research publications available in this. So it's good to read those papers and find out what is happening and what is possible as research, what projects can be given to students. Students are also aware. That's all I want to say as a faculty. So there's a MDP talk. Any questions you can take in.
So is there any more questions from the audience?
Yeah, so I think we can move on to wind up the session. Since there are no more questions. It was a great presentation by Krishnan sir. He has talked about various facets of IoT, embedded systems, and cyber physical system. He has in his talk he has mentioned a lot of examples, a lot of different domains, and he has explained how the concepts apply to those domains. So I think this talk is a reinforcement to the talks that we heard on day one, where the basics of IoT and CPS were discussed. So thank you, sir, for the wonderful talk and sharing your experience on research in this area, as well as the various upcoming opportunities in this domain. I thank you on behalf of the organizers, as well as all the participants. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. My presentations forward, like considering the range of audience, like so some places I will be naive, but naive example, but maybe I would like this motivates some of you to give some projects to students. They are also aware of this. Some small academic projects also learning good research papers like in ACM transactions, IEEE transactions based on this. There are a lot of research journals and conferences, so you can read those.
Yes, sir. I'm sure that yeah, it will be a motivation to the faculty, and definitely they will be engaging the students in projects in this area. So once again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I also thank for inviting me for a talk.
Yes. Yes, sir. You are welcome.